Hey guys, JT Kenney here with Bass UTV. I want to do a little deal with you guys today about jerk baiting in Florida. This is something that you don't ever hear about, guys throwing jerk baits. When you think about Florida, you always hear about guys punching. You always hear about guys casting to isolated targets, throwing lipless crankbaits, topwater. There's all kinds of stuff, but you very, very rarely ever hear about jerk baits. This is a technique that in Florida can be extremely deadly, but it does have certain scenarios where it's going to shine. It's not something that's an everyday you're in Florida, go pick up a jerk bait. That's not what it is. But in certain scenarios, and we're going to go over that with you today, it can really, really shine and be a super productive tool for you to use next time you come down to Florida, and especially right after a cold front. First thing I want to talk about, there's one bait in particular that I think is by far the best jerk bait in Florida. The only reason why I know this is I've tried a million of them. This is an old school long A bomber that your dad or grandfather probably threw before we had, you know, the new Mega Basses and Lucky Crafts and whatever else is out there that are a lot, so to speak, better jerk baits. And they are better jerk baits for deeper water fishing. But typically when you're down here in Florida, more than likely you're in 5 foot or less, and probably more often even in 3 foot or less. So the long A bomber is a very buoyant, extremely high floating jerk bait. So that with all the grass we have down here, that's one of the reasons why that this long A bomber it really is going to outperform some of the other plugs that you might be used to using, you know, in some other places up north. This golden tiger color, I'm not exactly sure if that is the particular name they call it, but it's kind of like a golden shiner, which is typically, most conditions down in Florida, is the primary wintertime feed or forage for the bass down here. So they really get zoned in on gold and black down here in the wintertime. But that's one of the reasons why that this bait, you're matching the forage. There's a lot of shiners down here that are about that long, and you're matching the forage that they're going to be feeding on the time of the year that I'm referencing using this bait, which is in the wintertime. One of the best things about this is how high it floats, because you can work it very slowly across the top of the grass and it'll keep floating up. And as you jerk it down, you know, with the diving bill, as you jerk the bait down and it gets down close to the grass, with it being a high floater, it will float back up. Now, when you want it to float back up, is it's coming up away from the grass, and then as you jerk it back down, it'll be very erratic, jerking it back down, and then it'll float back up. It'll keep from getting fouled in the grass so much. Now, with that being said, there's a couple of more little advanced techniques that I want to talk to you about and explaining, as this is the bait to do that with. Now, sometimes as you jerk it down and it's wanting to float back up pretty quick, because this is a really buoyant bait, if you're finding that fish are just nipping at the bait, or if they're, you know, getting hooked a little bit, or you can see them swipe at it and not get it, because a lot of times you're going to be in real clear water when you're throwing this in Florida. So there's a little trick, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it now and maybe go into it in a little more detail later.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass UTV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass UTV.
You get the top instructors.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
And that's why you want to check out Bass UTV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass UTV.